welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa's Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray, that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms, in your own understanding, in your own rhythm, and that you're really returning to who you really are. Thanks to every single person that has subscribed. Go ahead and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Special shout out to everyone that supports us on Patreon. We absolutely appreciate, love you so much. We release the news stories because we're not really covering the news anymore. But if you want to know what's going on in Africa, etc., the kind of stories we used to cover before, definitely consider joining our Patreon where I share more of my personal thoughts on that. There's a lot of questions that I get, and we've started this Ask Dr. Mumbi segment to kind of address one of them. And one of the most common questions I get is, what can we do as individuals to help with the restoration of Eden, the restoration of Zion? How can we help, Africa to come out on top? How do we restore our people? How do we unite? And there's a lot of ideas that have been floating out there, but they haven't worked, beloved, because we've been addressing this whole thing the wrong way. If we do not look for spiritual solutions to our current predicament, then nothing is going to change. We've tried the physical, we've tried the revolutions, we've tried the independence movements, we've tried all those things. They didn't work because we are a spiritual people, beloveds, having a human experience. And so our power, everything lies in our spiritual. If we could just get back to our true spiritual and get out of this religious psychosis, it would surprise us how much we could get done in such a short period of time. Because the minute we change what's going on in here, our world will literally change. The way you see the video movies where the landscape all of a sudden transforms. That's how powerful we are, but we've been disempowered with fake thoughts and beliefs. Before we were a knowing people. Now we've downgraded to a believing people, and most of us believe the wrong thing. So anyway, that wasn't about that, but what can we do as individuals to help with the restoration of Africa? I think the first and most important thing is, first of all, secure yourself. Do whatever is necessary, to safeguard yourself. Make sure that you won't be put and your family won't be put in a situation where you have to make the wrong choice. Because, beloveds, with the current experiment that's going on, there's really no way out for that with any traditional medicine for now. So, a lot of people have been saying, oh, what if we have to, blah, blah, blah. Those are the kind of decisions now that you have to make. So before you're forced to make that decision, and I'm sorry for those who have already made that decision, well, not sorry, it's your decision. But make sure that you have secured everything and that you're totally self-reliant, mentally, spiritually, and physically first. That you have your own supply of food, that you have your own, system of survival, etc. You have your off-grid home. You and your family are kind of, you could make it. If Armageddon was to strike, secure yourself, beloveds. That's the most important and fundamental thing. And awaken yourselves. Make sure that, you're really doing all the necessary work to break yourself out of the mental bondage, because I've said this several times before. Your transformation aids in the transformation of all of us, because we're part of this spiritual mind here. And so where the majority of our thoughts are going, because the world is mental, kind of emerges as the destiny or experience that we have as a collective melanated people. Secondly, so once you've secured yourself, etc., make yourself the priority first. And then once you've actually started taking those steps, then you should pick either a region, a people, or an objective that you will chant, pray for, meditate for daily, and add it to your own personal prayers. So maybe you want to pray for the liberation of Kenya, or the end of corrupted leaders, or the liberation of Africa. The thing that touches your heart, the thing that you feel you resonate with, because probably there's a spiritual team working with you that could really enhance that if you put your energy there. So identify, and I think it's very important that we as a collective also come up with collective kind of objectives, collective affirmations for our people. I did this a couple of years ago. I'll look for that video. Collective affirmations for our people that we now collectively meditate and pray and chant on. And I mean, if you're deeper spiritually, if you have an altar, these are the things you would place on your altar. These are the things that you'd place on your sacred tree, or you would dedicate in your sacred lake or river, because everything is alive, beloveds. And these, the enablers of this experience, the beautiful nature, Mama Nature, her lakes, her mountains, those are spiritual beings, beloved, having their own experience, their own physical experience, but they can definitely be called on for assistance. This is not spookism, it's reality. So once you choose a region or people or objective to pray on, make your intentions. So have 4 or 5 or whatever your favorite number is, if it's 22, if it's, whatever it is, have that many number of kind of things, of objectives or your intentions for that nation, for that people, for our people, for the continent, etc., etc. And then there's many ways to do it, because what we're trying to use here is our mental power. Put our mental power into changing our circumstances, so you don't have to leave the comfort of your war room, your closet, or wherever, your prayer closet, your altar, wherever you pray. That's a point of power for you, beloveds. And so you don't have to leave that to assist in the liberation movement and to join the great army of the Most High that is in operation right now spiritually. We can join just by chanting and praying and singing daily. And if your power is in automatic writing, even writing it, getting it into your brain, repeating it like a chant, you know what I mean? 33 times, 22 times. Allow the Spirit to show you how to do this. But this is how we spiritually activate ourselves to become warriors in the greatest movement that has ever been witnessed by our melanated people. We are no longer asleep. And we have more power than we realize. And I think, once you make your intentions, and every time you pray, every time you're kind of putting dedications for yourself, affirmations, or every time you feel called to put that in place. And you know what? There's a lady who sent me a number, and she was like, and she also sent me a donation. I'll have to say your name in the, after the break. And she was like, anytime there's any crisis with any of our African leaders who are actually Pan-Africanists, get in touch with me so that we can, so that we can pray, so that we can fast, so that we can meditate. And that was such a beautiful idea, because I think it's very important that we come together as a collective and get our collective intentions that each of us is now saying. Imagine if we all just took one intention, that Africa must be free within our generation, and restore the shrines and remove every foreign name and restore our names, restore our nations. Imagine if 1 million of us just dedicated. Whenever we were praying for our families, we also prayed for that. Whenever we were doing our rituals, we also did that. Imagine how that would change. Then make that 10 million, make that 15 million. The force of that, because we are now a mental universe of 10 million strong souls declaring the liberation of our, motherland daily, would change more than our youth getting arms, getting guns, getting clubs, and trying to go, to deal with these wizards and warlocks that are, pretending to be our presidents. That's where the real power is, beloveds. When people are ready to do that, then we'll be talking, where you can come together for a meditation as a nation. Instead of going to demonstrate down the street, you come into one of the sacred parks as 1,000, as 10,000, as 100,000 people, and you all just, for 3 days, fasting and crying for the spirit of our ancestors and for the Most High to intervene. I'm telling you, that would topple governments faster than anyone trying to go and demonstrate and form a party and say, even me, I'm going to run for president and I'm going to try. No, we've been doing it back to front, beloveds. But these are the points of power. And before we get to that, I believe we are going to get to that point where 1 million of us, 10 million of us, 100 million of us will be declaring something. We will be declaring the liberation of our people, and we will start to see, the heavenlies changing. But before we get there, just gather with 2 or 3. More is better, but at least 2 or 3 gather. And if you don't, even you yourself, include the 2 or 3 in your spiritual team, you know what I mean? Gather and make these intentions, make it a collective intention. If you can even do it at the same time, that even adds more vibes to it. And I know a lot of people have been reaching out and asking me to do like global meditations. Whoa, this has gone on for so long. Let me take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Wake Up Africa's Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. Sorry, I had to abruptly shut that. I'm actually recording this at the foothills of Mount Zion. So SUSCRIBE and the sacred Indian text called it Mount Meru. Very, very sacred place for our people. So I basically have to keep the recordings a certain length because then I'm sending it to my editing team in Nairobi. Stories for other days. Shout out to our Patreon family. Thank you so much for supporting us. We do release news shows on there. We're not doing the news anymore, but we do release news articles on there. So definitely consider joining us. And thank you to everyone that has subscribed here and become part of our family. I was talking about how we can change Africa. I mean, my spirit is just, give me ideas as well. I mean, let's have a lovely discussion. Let me know what pointers you have in the comments below. I'm trying to see how I can share some of your comments because they're just really like I learned something from it. It's just amazing. But 5 things that we can do right now to join the army of the Most High, the army of the heavenlies that is trying to secure our liberation from the Babylon system as it falls. As I said, first and foremost, make yourself a priority. Make you securing yourself spiritually and mentally a priority. Create a routine for yourself. And with everything that's happening, beloveds, we're in a mental marathon now where only the fittest of the fittest of the fittest shall survive. And so you have to be very, very securing yourself is not just a physical thing, but you have to really be careful the information that you're taking in so that everything just helps you to stay, mentally up and just not lose momentum. Sorry. And then I said, identify a region or an objective that you are going to dedicate to prayer, dedicate to fasting, dedicate on your altar, dedicate to, the rivers. If you have a sacred tree that you're going to connect with the tree, etc., etc. I don't want to go too deep because, hey, some people just ain't ready. And then make your intentions, as I said. And then also, I think another dimension of this that's very important is, especially for the people who didn't grow up with their culture, it's really important that you start to research the names that our people used for the Most High Creator, that our people used for source, that our people used for the ancestors, and key into those names. Make those names more part of your practice than calling on God, because there's so many gods. I mean, so you could be calling on anyone depending on your vibration and your state of mind. So really, really get deep into making your intentions as clear as possible, because remember that, this Babylonian language is a language of spells. It was created by the Masons, and so just as it can be used against you, you can also use it for you and for your cause. But it's really getting really detailed and getting down to the semantics of the things that you're declaring, the things you're praying about, etc., etc. And this is for the people that are ready, and so many have told me they're ready. So this is what we can be doing. And beloveds, as soon as I am in a position to do it, I will definitely see how we can have even like a collective, Zoom meeting or something where we can start to have collective objectives. You can already start sharing some of the things that you would think or you would like to be in our collective objectives. Because the way to take this to the next level, as I said before the break, is to have 1 million of us chanting for the same thing at the same time every day. That is like the most powerful warfare ever. And this is something our ancestors totally and completely, overstood, understood, whatever you want to, however you want to put it. I'm actually getting excited because I really can see this working. And, finally, beloveds, keep the faith. The most powerful weapon you have at your disposal is the faith that things are going to change and that Babylon will fall. Don't allow the fear of Babylon to try and convince you that Babylon ain't going nowhere. Because Babylon has already fallen spiritually, beloveds. What we're witnessing now is a spiritual rescue on the earthly realm. Because so many of us, our consciousness is attached to the Babylon system. And so if Babylon falls, many of our people will fall as well. And so, we've reached the tipping point where enough of us are awake, where we could literally turn our backs on our brothers and sisters and go build our brand new world. And we'd be activated and we'd become super powerful. But there's still that compassion in us because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so we're above this human experience. There is still that where many of us still have that passion and compassion to try and pull our brothers and sisters out. But you know what? We could probably do it faster if we did it on a spiritual level and commanded, commanded the matrix to stop, the confusion of the matrix, just commanding it so much so that that atmosphere is kind of frozen and our people have a chance to think again and connect with themselves again. Until next time, tuko pamoja.